What's good, everybody? It's your boy Angel X24X, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, Exclusive Ace talks about strike maps and where are they. So I want to give my thoughts as he does this video. And before we get started, let's go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment below on what y'all think about strike maps and if they should bring them back. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it.
What's up, guys? My name is Ace, and so far with Black Ops 7, we've just been talking about the things that they have officially revealed. However, today I wanted to focus on something that is very clearly missing from the reveal of Black Ops 7, and for many, this is a very key part of the game for them. This is the strike maps that are used for face-off as well as gunfight. This is those really tiny...
I will say this, that in the beta, obviously being a beta, there's not no sense of grind, right? So playing the strike maps in the beta were kind of fun because it was just kind of hectic. You're just trying to use all the weapons. So it was like a much faster way of using everything and getting comfortable with everything. But when it comes to like grinding and actually enjoying the gameplay itself, I didn't enjoy that.
Maps that many people love to grind 24/7. And within the reveal, they consistently mentioned there would be 16 6v6 maps, 3 of which are remade maps, 13 are brand new, and then there's going to be 2 20v20 maps for the skirmish mode. Outside of that, there has been zero mention of face-off maps, which is a bit strange. If we're expecting those maps to be coming to the game, you would think they'd be advertising those as early as possible. So this leads me to believe that there will be no strike maps or no face-off, no gunfight in Black Ops 7, at least at launch. And I am quite surprised to see this because as much as I personally generally stay away from playing face-off, at the end of the day, these tiny map experiences appear to be very popular in the community. In fact, I know there are a lot of people out...
I don't think they're popular in the community. I think people want them so that way they can get their camos faster. At the end of the day, most players don't want to just spawn and die, spawn and die, spawn and die, spawn and die, unless they're trying to get a camo. You also have to remember that there's a very, very small percentage that gets the mastery camos within the first month. So, of course, over a span of a year, most people are going to gravitate towards these small maps so they can get their challenges for the limited playtime that they have. So, I don't think it's... Everybody's like, oh, I love these small maps. They're like, we want them there because we want to get our camos.
Out there that exclusively play face-off or even exclusively play one tiny map all year round. Like in the case of Black Ops 6, they'll play Stakeout 24/7 non-stop, and that's the only map they will play, which I personally find to be insane, but there are people that do that. And to those people, those tiny map 24/7 experiences, that's the game to them. That is the entire game. And it's not just with Black Ops 6. We see this in the past with like Shipment 24/7. You'd have people that just play Shipment all the time, or Nuketown 24/7, or whatever the equivalent is. And the reason that many people gravitate toward these maps is simply because it's the best place to be grinding for challenges, especially camo challenges.
Yeah, I was going to say, the reason why Black Ops 6 has all these small maps is because they, in their head, want people to grind for camos. So it's not that to me, it's not that players want that. It's just the most efficient way to get camos. And when the developer of the game can decide which route they want players to take, of course it's going to look like, if every map is based around, you know, fast-paced small strike maps, then of course the community is kind of forced to play that, right? Whereas if you went the other direction and made maps that were, you know, medium to bigger size, you know, some sprinkled small in there, and the focus was on the game modes, like playing domination or a capture the flag if they brought it back, or search and destroy or whatever, then people would enjoy that. But they've made the game solely around camo challenges and strike maps that the stats may make it seem like people want to play it, but in reality, it's just what the game was built around.
It just offers the most amount of gunfights in the shortest period of time, so you can grind through those very quickly. Additionally, though, for some people, they just like the mindless chaos. They just like hitting respawn and finding a gunfight within 2 seconds consistently, and that's really all they want to do. They just want to shut their...
To me, I don't understand that, right? As a casual player, don't get me wrong. When you got energy, you sit down and you're like, yeah, I'm ready to kill people and run. Yes. Most people enjoy living and getting kills, right? Playing strike maps isn't going to get that. You're not going to get that. You're going to die a lot. So to me, I think, again, it's a flawed metric to how the game was designed, right? If you don't have strike maps, people will still enjoy the maps if they're good and the game modes that are in those modes, because like most of the time you're playing these strike maps as TDM, so it's mindlessly running. So at the end of the day, people will enjoy whatever they're given, but it depends on how the game is made.
Brain off and just shoot things, respawn, and not really have to think much beyond that. And I do think Face-Off does provide a nice place for those players to go that separates them from regular matchmaking. I also like the fact that Face-Off eliminates score streaks from the equation, because if you are playing those ridiculously tiny maps like that...
And again, I don't like that either, because that's what Call of Duty was about. Since Call of Duty 4, there has been kill streaks in every Call of Duty. And then you're giving these players this place where there's no kill streaks. You're basically saying that you don't need kill streaks to play Call of Duty. But that's the point, right? Like, that's why people play Call of Duty, is to get kill streaks, right? Because if not, then everybody would go play all those other different games that didn't have kill streaks, that didn't have that stuff. But they don't, because they play Call of Duty for kill streaks.
Score streaks are way overkill, and most people are in there to just grind camos, for instance, or just get into gunfights. So it really puts the focus on that gun-on-gun action. And then on top of that, that's not mentioning gunfight. Gunfight also takes place on these tiny maps, and it's not so much the mindless chaos. This is more of the 2v2 tactical experience.
I'm pretty sure that they could take regular 6v6 maps and chop a piece of the map out and make it a 2v2. Why do you have to go and make separate? I mean, obviously, if you make a 2v2 map, it makes it, you can make a specific 2v2 map. But I'm pretty sure that there's sections of the map that will be good for 2v2, right? And I don't know, how about this? When you make a 6v6 map, have smaller teams in mind when you're making that map. Because realistically, you should anyways, right? Because you want the map to be able to flow, whether you have 12 people in the same area or if you have 4 people in the same area. So just make the maps to have some part of the map with 4 people involved, and you'll have your 2v2, maps.
And without these tiny strike maps, we're not likely going to be seeing gunfight as well. So on one hand, I definitely think it's strange that they're not including this in Black Ops 7, at least as far as we can tell.
And in my personal opinion, I don't think that they should be focusing on 2v2 and these small maps, right? Call of Duty needs to be about 6v6 and playing the game modes that are in the game, right? Competitive is a 4v4, right? We all, like, the casual side already doesn't play what the competitive plays, which is okay, right, in this aspect, because you're just adding 2 more players. It's fine, right? But when you start to, okay, we gotta make 6v6, we gotta make 2v2, we gotta make a 20v20, we gotta make, you're doing too much, right? And there's too many variables you have to start to think about. Like, hey, can we put this kill streak in here? Is that gonna work over here? Can we put this perk in over here? Is that gonna work over here? Like, there's too many things you have to, like, balance. If you just made 6v6, then over the span you can, again, like I said, you can manipulate the map and make a section of the map a 2v2, or just make big 6v6 maps that could play well on a 10v10, right? Just bring back Ground War where it was 9v9. It's not that hard.
And I do think that will upset quite a few people. However, on the other hand, I do think the inclusion of modes like this, where you have these 24/7 chaotic tiny map offerings, rather than like special limited time events or playlists, I do think over the years, looking at the big picture of Call of Duty, this has done harm to the franchise.
Absolutely.
Now, I totally get why the devs moved in that direction over the years and started offering this to players, because I'm sure they had tons of data showing that people flock to these modes when available. I
And
remember.
again, I want to say they flock to those game modes because there's a heavy push on camo grinding. It's the fastest way to get camos, it's the fastest way to level up. That's why people are flocking to the smaller maps, right? It happens in every Call of Duty. So why instead of changing the maps, change how you earn your camos. Make the camos more gameplay incentive, right? Like, hey, like, when I'm using this weapon, how many kills can I get while I'm on the objective, right? How many kills can I get, while I'm holding, again, they're supposed to bring uplink to Black Ops 7. How many kills can I get while I'm holding the uplink or whatever? Or so on and so forth, right? How many kills, like get a certain amount of kills in TDM. Make players play multiple game modes and you will see that most players will just enjoy that as well. But again, the camos are headshots, kills, multi-kills. So the fastest way to do that is to go to these small maps.
Way back in the day, you'd have these special like double XP plus Nuketown 24/7 weekends, and that was a big deal. People would make sure that they could get on during those times and really just grind that out because it was a special limited time thing. So over the years, I'm sure they noticed that people just love playing this, so they started offering more and more of this. And it started to become just a staple of the game to have modes like this available 24/7. In saying that, like I said, I think this has come with some unforeseen consequences, long-term and big picture for the franchise. And I do want to talk about some of the cons of having this available. And the big general con with this is it primes players to expect 100% action with zero downtime once they end up playing these modes a bit, and therefore the rest of the game outside of those tiny modes for a lot of players.
Can we all agree that it's okay to change the game? If you feel that people are expecting this, it's okay to tell that small community, hey, that's not the direction that we want to go in. Because they kind of did it with the small maps. They told the regular Call of Duty players that want to play the objectives and focus on playing the game mode rather than grinding for camos, and dropped to Black Ops 6 and said, we don't care about you guys. We're going to make these 6v6 because majority of people want to play the 6v6 or the strike maps. And then the strike maps are really for camo grinding, right? So why now, like if they decide, hey, we're not going to have a bunch of small maps again, like, 2v2 size small maps, that, like, it's okay for them to get upset. You're the developer of the game. Own the game. Make the game the way you want to make it. It's not that hard.
It becomes boring because you're not going to get a gunfight every 2 or 3 seconds. Which is crazy because 6v6 Call of Duty is still quite a fast-paced shooter compared to most shooters on the market. But for these people that just grind these tiny maps 24/7, that's slow to them. And as a result, for many of those players, they fall into that trap of only wanting to play these tiny chaotic modes because everything else is boring. And they end up getting sort of addicted to just playing those modes, and therefore they only ever experience a tiny portion of what multiplayer has to offer throughout the year, including all of the variety that comes with that, with some longer engagement distances and some room to actually make some interesting plays, for instance, rather than just a meat grinder.
See, on the other thing too is it eliminates the different version, the different weapons. Right? Having a sniper rifle. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Anybody can jump onto these 2v2 maps, these strike maps, and use any weapon, right? But it almost eliminates the certain play style for each weapon, right? You have a sniper that's supposed to hold down a long range. You have an LMG that's supposed to be able to put bullets down range on maybe a lane or an objective. Then you have your support player using an assault rifle. Then you have you're rushing with a submachine gun, you're sneaking around with a submachine gun, or the shotgun, like making you deadly on a certain part of the map, where you can lock down a map with a shotgun because people are then going to realize like they can't go over there unless they have a shotgun to compete with you. It eliminates all those different play styles with all the different weapons, and everybody's again just on this meat grinder just trying to get camos. And it's just sad to see that people don't get to experience all those different play styles.
And I do think for a lot of these players, it leads to much faster burnout, obviously. If they're just playing this very, very limited portion of the game, that's going to burn people out very, very quickly. Additionally, there's an argument that having these modes available 24/7, it throws off the overall grinding experience. Now, many people don't care about this, but some do.
I wish they would just do 1 month, one weekend a month. Boom, double XP, small map 24 playlist. Take it away, right? That way, it brings the community back to the game for 1 weekend, right? Now, it doesn't mean double XP just for these maps. It would be double XP for the entire game. But at least you would get a flow of people back to the game for the same time. So you would have a high amount of players playing the game. And they, of course, then would spread out to the rest of the game. You know, they may play an hour or two of strike map, and then they would go play regular game modes, right? But if you have it all the time, then there's no incentive to want to get on the game when there's the double XP, because you're just going to go to the strike maps anyways. You don't need double XP for your weapon camos. You need to get kills with your weapon camos. So again, you're going to go to the location that has the most amount of action and gunfights, and that's going to be your smallest maps.
And I think it is at least a valid point to bring up. Grinding camos in this mode 24/7, for instance, feels like a shortcut compared to grinding all of the mastery camos out in the wider multiplayer experience, like the regular core 6v6 experience. And with these being available 24/7, this can also make it so if you are grinding camos or other challenges in the regular core modes, it can make it feel painfully slow compared to these shortcut modes that allow you to do it much faster. And I think that can also lead to a lot of frustration with these people and make them feel like they have to play these tiny modes so they can efficiently get the camos that they're trying to unlock, which just further enforces that feeling of being trapped in those modes. I know it's a self-imposed trap, but it's a trap nonetheless that many fall into. And looking deeper into that, I think this goes along with a very harmful...
See, again, it's on the developers, right? And how they push the challenges out to players. I understand that using a weapon revolves around getting kills, getting headshots, getting multi-kills, okay? Maybe even using the weapon with different attachments. But you can also add in the fact of the play style of that weapon, right? Again, like I said, submachine guns. Are you using fast perks? Are you using like Ghost, right? With an LMG, are you using, flat jacket and tac mask because you're sitting in one location spraying down? With a sniper, are you using some form of recon type of perks? Can you get kills with those perks? Then it goes to the objective stuff. Can you get kills on, any type of game mode, whether that's, domination, capture the flag, search and destroy, with the certain weapons, right? Let's make the weapons be tied to helping you play the game mode you want, right? Everybody wants to find the best weapon to use all the time. And that's not necessarily the case, because that's not what most maps are designed for, because they want people to use shotguns, they want people to use sniper rifles. And if you can use those weapons on certain maps with playing certain game modes, it would incentivize more people to go play those game modes and earn camos. But again, if you're pushing the only way to get these camos is to get 100 headshots, well, the fastest way to do that is to go to the strike maps.
Mindset that has really grown, especially in recent years in the community, and that is that Call of Duty isn't necessarily about enjoying the gameplay experience, it's about completing the grind.
See?
A lot of people just buy Call of Duty because they've gotten into the habit of needing to complete that mastery camo grind every single year. And that is their goal. That is the whole reason they're playing. Even if they're hating every second of the gameplay experience, it doesn't matter. They've got to check those boxes, and they've got to get that mastery camo every year.
Which, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You need challenges that are not revolved around the weapon, right? Give people challenges revolving around the game modes you're playing, right? How you should be getting camos and stuff for playing the objective. You should be playing, when you plant the bomb and search and destroy, when you defuse the bomb and search and destroy, you should be getting camos for that. If they bring capture the flag, how many captures do you get? How many defends do you get? Even with domination, how many captures do you get? How many defends you get? How many kills you get while attacking? How many kills do you get while defending? Those need to have challenges as well that give you camos, or some form of skin or whatever you want that you can add to the game, right? because at the end of the day, the best thing to see is your camo on the weapon. But that would be cool because then that would take away the I just need to get my camo challenges and go shoot people on strike maps and go away. Like, we need to bring back the idea of what it actually means to play Call of Duty. And that was playing these 6v6 maps with kill streaks and trying to win the game mode you're playing, right? That's what we need to bring back.
And I think offering these modes 24/7 has really fed into this mindset, because I know many people end up playing these modes, not because they enjoy the process of playing these modes, but they just play them because it's the most efficient way to reach their end goal. They don't really care about the process or the journey or the experiences that they have along the way.
Exactly.
They just want to get to their end goal as quickly as possible. And I think that also leads to a lot of burnout and also, like I said, just a harmful mindset in general where they're not approaching the game thinking about how they can have the...
That's actually a good point. I think the one reason why Call of Duty Black Ops 6 fell off so fast this year as well is because the developers have been, pushing the community to this camo grind simulator. Everybody was like, okay, well, we're going to grind for our camos. And a lot of people got it within the first 2-3 months of the game. And they're not used to actually just playing the game. They're used to camo grinding. So they camo grind and then they stop playing. And then they think that playing the game is going to ranked in some cases. And then you go to ranked and now you're playing a bunch of cheaters. So the developers in Activision have shot themselves in the foot with how they have pushed the community to this camo grinding simulator instead of actually getting them to play the game. And then, of course, when the camos are done, they get off.
Best experience possible. They're only approaching it with the mindset of how can I complete my chores as quickly as possible. And for many of these players, they will grind these modes so hard that they'll get that mastery camo, which is like the end game goal for the game, within like a month or sometimes even less. And then immediately after they unlock it, they wonder, why did the game just get so boring? Like, why am I not enjoying myself anymore? Probably because you burnt yourself out so hard playing these mindless meat grinders and not really enjoying the process at all. So now...
Exactly. You haven't been playing Call of Duty. You're not playing Call of Duty, playing on, 6v6 strike zone map, just running back and forth, trying to get a kill, trying to get a headshot, and then dying again and repeating. That's not playing Call of Duty. That's like, I don't even know what that's called. That's not Call of Duty though. Call of Duty is playing on Skyline, right? And trying to, I assume he's playing TDM, and trying to get the first to 75 and get all your kill streaks. And I think that's another thing too that we can talk about is that over the past couple years, I think a lot of people don't know how to play game modes. And that's why it also maybe, and this is just a realization of me right now, this might be why a lot of the times it feels like there is SBMM, is because so many people don't know how to play TDM and domination. They don't understand it, right? In TDM, you're not supposed to die. You're supposed to stay alive. So running back and forth through the map is not going to help. So a lot of people are not getting kill streaks in dominating lobbies. And then when you feel like you're dominating a lobby, or when you're let's say you're getting dominated, that's because you're playing a team that's not dying. And they're getting their kill streaks and they're spamming kill streaks on you. So then you feel like, man, I'm carrying my team damn near SBMM. And it's like, oh, well, maybe it's just because the people that you were playing with actually don't know how to play TDM. They're so used to the meat grinder of just running back and forth. Boom. That just hit me.
When you think about playing the game without that goal in mind of getting your mastery camos, it seems a whole lot less appealing to you. And I think that's a huge factor as well that has really contributed to these modes having a very negative impact on the franchise overall. However, there's also one last note I want to make here. This is definitely the smallest out of all these notes, but it is a factor as well that I kind of don't like about offering these tiny, tiny maps 24/7. And that is, it can throw off expectations for balancing weapons and other gear in the game. Like just one example here, shotgun balance. If you balance the shotguns in the game to be pretty decent for like the regular core
Remember, I said this.
Experience, that probably means they're going to be totally overpowered on a map like Stakeout 24/7. And therefore, in order to find some balance between the two, they have to keep those shotguns really in check, and therefore the shotguns become kind of useless in regular 6v6. And that's just one example. This also comes into play when it comes to like perks and equipment, for instance. I do think it can throw off the balancing experiences because people have expectations that the game will be balanced around these tiny modes rather than the general core 6v6 experience.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we talked about before. The expectation of the map, right? People want to get camos fast as heck. So when they go and play an regular game mode, they're going to be like, this is slow. I want to use the word massaging. You're massaging the player base to be comfortable with this type of playstyle, and it's not the game. So you're getting inflated metrics where you're going to see, oh, the shotgun is overpowered and overused in Strike Zone. We need to nerf it. The strike maps, we need to nerf it. But in reality, it's the best place to use a shotgun because it's the smaller maps. So of course you're going to see way more usage in those maps using the shotgun than you are a regular, 6v6 map. So again, the developers have to do a better job of understanding. Daryl, it just seems like what the heck? That seems obvious to understand, but all right.
So overall, circling back to the fact that it looks like we're not going to be seeing a mode like Face Off in Black Ops 7, at least at launch, perhaps this would be a healthy move overall for the franchise. However, unfortunately, I think it's kind of hard to put the cat back in the bag. And I do think not including this is going to upset a lot of players that have come to expect this because it's been offered so much every single year for so long.
But again, we had that same situation where we had all the way up until Modern Warfare 2019, Black Ops 4, of our normal gameplay. Then all of a sudden they switched it on us and started going this route with Warzone and everything. So the same way they did it to us, us old school Call of Duty players, the same way they can do it to these players now. We were accustomed to what Call of Duty was, then they changed it, and now these players are accustomed to what Call of Duty is, so they can change it again. Right? Let's do that.
Like I said earlier, for many of these players, that's what Call of Duty is to them. They don't even play the rest of the Call of Duty experience because it's too slow and boring for them. So this could push them away entirely. Now, in saying that, there is one big factor to consider here, and this is Nuketown. While we aren't expecting to see Nuketown at launch for Black Ops 7, that's normal for a Black Ops game. Usually, Nuketown comes like 2 or 3 weeks after launch for a Black Ops game, and I suspect it'll be no different with Black Ops 7. It would be very strange to not have Nuketown in this game, especially shortly after launch. So I fully expect that to be coming, even though it hasn't been officially confirmed at this point. And I would be surprised if they didn't offer a Nuketown 24/7 playlist. So while they might not have Face Off in the game, I do think those players that are looking for that constant 24/7 chaos, they're still going to have Nuketown available to them. And looking deeper into just my personal opinions on this, like I said, I don't really play Face Off all that much. And over the years, I've always thought, like, it's nice. It's nice to provide that to those players that are looking for that, but it's not something I'm interested in. Perhaps by cutting that experience out of the equation, that will put more focus on the standard core 6v6 experience.
And we've been saying that the entire video.
I personally love. And so maybe a little bit selfishly, I think this could be good for the regular core 6v6 experience in Black Ops 7 as well, where they can really focus their attention and resources on supporting that mode and content.
See, and this is what I don't understand. You have everybody going to these small maps because they want fast-paced action and camo grinding, right? But then when we talk about, hey, Call of Duty, if you get rid of skill-based matchmaking, that will be the gameplay that you get in your regular 6v6. They don't want to do that. Right? They also nerf kill streaks. Buff the kill streaks. Give more kill streaks. Give more things for players to do to get kills. Then it won't feel like it's boring. Right? So instead of making a cop-out and just making small maps and letting everybody meat grind, how about you make a good game and give us better stuff? Better kill streaks, better perks, better equipment, better tacticals and lethals. That actually make the game fun, right? And then that are rewarding so that way players enjoy it even though it's more of a slower paced 6v6 game. Even though 6v6 is not a slow pace. It's just slow compared to playing Strike Zone where you're getting literally spawned on. You're spawning in people. You know what I'm saying?
For that mode. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to say in this video regarding this topic. And this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you feeling about the fact that, at least as far as we can tell, there will be no face-off playlist and apparently no gunfight as well, at least at launch with Black Ops 7? Do you guys think this would be a good move overall for the game, a bad move? Just let me know all of those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated.
Go subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already.
Yep.
I'll talk to you guys next time.
So with that being said, right, I'm glad if it doesn't go. I don't play them. I mean, I played them in the beginning a little bit here and there, but I would get bored because it doesn't have kill streaks. There's no substance to it. For me, I wanna play the game mode I'm playing. I want to win the game mode I'm playing. Now, unfortunately, Call of Duty hasn't had a capture the flag or uplink type game mode regularly since, I don't even know, Black Ops 4. I don't remember. They usually come out with capture the flag 6 months into the game. So now that Black Ops 7 is going to have uplink, that might be something that might keep me on the game a little bit longer, because then I can focus on playing the game mode rather than worrying about who I'm playing against. Because domination is basically TDM with 2 flags. You know, then you, like, that's pretty much it. And then you play TDM. So it's basically, you feel like it's a bunch of sweats. Whereas if I'm playing uplink, I don't necessarily need to have to get a bunch of kills to win the game. You know, there's multiple ways to play the game. And that's what's missing from Call of Duty. That's what's been missing from Call of Duty. And so hopefully, you know, they don't bring those maps so we can get more people back to the regular 6v6. And maybe they can make some adjustments to the camos and how we earn them, or maybe even adding more camos, you know, that revolve around playing objectives or playing certain maps or whatever. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. How many wins do you get on Nuketown, and you get a Nuketown camo? Like, that would be pretty cool, right? That would incentivize you that when you're playing that map, you would try to win. But you can get it casually. It's not something that you have to really try to sweat for, you know? Obviously, if you get that map, you're going to try to sweat. Now, if they make it a 24/7 playlist, then everybody's going to try to win, and then it's going to take the fun out of it. Whereas if it's just like, hey, you need to get 500 wins, that's an achievement that you'll do over time. Don't worry about it. Don't go try to get it. Just play the game. When you get on Nuketown, then you could try hard a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I'm using Nuketown as an example, but it would be different maps. So you guys let me know in the comments below what you think. I think that it's a good thing if they don't bring it back. If they do, well, you'll have your meat grinding, camo grinding simulator. So, and then also go ahead and leave a like. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. See you guys on the next one. Peace.